You're listening to Sips of Sanity, your toolkit for emotional and intuitive intelligence, or what we like to call the dirty work. Let's do it.
Hello, patrons. Again, and Kelly, we are continuing our week-long talk about Nathaniel Branden's book, The Six Pillars of Self-Esteem, and we hope you enjoyed day 2, where we asked you to really be involved and really be self-aware and ask yourself those questions and really listen to what we were doing. We're going to continue to ask you to do that, because the first thing that we're going to talk about today is what self-esteem looks like in your physical body. So
Posture.
Yes. Oh, that's a great one. So I was going to start just by saying the way that you carry yourself, even facially. If you go to someone's face, you can see in someone's face whether they have self-esteem or not. So as we're saying this, think about yourself. Do you present when you're speaking to someone, say at work? So, use another example and go to a specific situation in your life. So when you're at work, does your face convey self-esteem when you're talking to coworkers? Or if you have clients or patients or whatever you do for a living? Does your tone of voice convey it? Does your posture, as you said, convey it? Are you showing it in your actions, in the way that your body moves? So now if you want, you might think, okay, I'm good at work. I do that at work. I'm sure that I do that. Okay, think about different coworkers or different situations.
Can we break this down too? Because
Yes.
I want to say, you're touching on some good areas of the body to think about. But if you guys aren't sure, self-esteem looks like you're showing up. You're making yourself seen. And low self-esteem means hiding, right? More often than not, if we look at the people who are really bold and brazen and trying to charge forward and hide the fact that they have low self-esteem, it can look very direct and aggressive, right? Or overly assertive, let's say. But you can just not judge, but assess yourself based on that, right? Is your face squaring up with theirs? Are your shoulders squaring up with theirs? Are you being present, or are you trying to hide, lower, shrug, shrink, etc.? Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think too, Kelly, when you were talking about that, it made me think about telephone versus FaceTime and Zoom. Whether you meet with somebody and you choose, no, I'm just going to do it over email. I'm just going to send out a quick text message, because you're actually avoiding knowing, subconsciously perhaps, that you lack self-esteem. And so you don't actually want them to see you. That you actually prefer the emails or asking someone else to deliver the message, because you know that you don't have the self-confidence to be able to do that yourself.
So that would be the opposite of showing up.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? That would be hiding.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Just as you were talking, I was trying to think of some practical ideas where they could think, geez, what does she actually mean when she's saying that? That's good. Well, maybe you do things like when you said you avoid, you hide your physical body so that you actually don't have to be seen. So you ask other people to do shit for you or use devices. Secondly, when we have high self-esteem, we can speak of our successes in life, our accomplishments, with confidence. We don't try and, try and minimize it. We don't say, oh, you're too kind.
Yeah, we don't downplay it. And we also don't have to say things like, well, I don't mean to brag, or I'm not trying to boast, or, I don't want this to come off like I have a big ego, right? We're not qualifying it. We're just speaking matter-of-factly about our successes and our accomplishments, because we're proud of the efforts that we've put into them.
Yeah. And I like the distinguishing things that you are doing here for people, where some people will try and diminish it. Then you've got other people that might go, well, I just state it as a fact. Stating it as a fact doesn't mean you have confidence. Doesn't mean you have self-esteem. It means that when you go to actually embrace your self-esteem, that you actually really truly are proud of and are willing to share it with other people. And you are not responsible for how they react.
Okay, so you're talking about two different things here, if people are getting confused.
Oh.
Because I did say that you can talk about your accomplishments matter-of-factly, as in they happened.
Right.
But you're bringing in an added element, the after element of when people say, oh my goodness, congratulations.
Yes.
Where when you're talking about embracing, I can say, thank you, right?
Yeah,
With
yeah.
that confidence and acceptance that the compliment you're offering me is something that I'm worthy of, right? Versus if I speak matter of factly, like, yeah, I ran a 10K and I won. Yeah, I beat all of the Spartan competition and won all 3 medals. And you're like, oh my God, good for you. Oh, well, it's nothing. I just trained really, I did what I needed to do.
Right.
Well, now I'm not embracing the compliment. Now
Yeah.
I'm speaking matter of factly about what happened, but I'm not actually embracing or internalizing the feeling that we are interacting with.
I think what you're pointing out, Kelly, is a great way for everybody listening to also assess another's self-esteem. So that when you do give compliments, how do people respond? So if they respond in all the ways Kelly's talked about, then now you know where they are on that barometer of where their own self-esteem is.
So you're talking about if I compliment someone
Yes.
and say, oh, congratulations, Karen, I can now witness in
Yeah.
you where your self-esteem is at based on how you receive the compliment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And now that might help you understand what's going on within that other person. Because sometimes we give that compliment and then we think, like we can get annoyed, we can get judgmental of the other person, or we can think, what an ass.
Well, yeah, because it's very confusing. If someone brings up an accomplishment and you are involved and you're like, hey, that's amazing, congratulations. And then they deflect the compliment. You're like, why the fuck did you bring it up if you weren't even going to receive it, right? And I'm saying what the fuck in a really lighthearted way here, because what we're actually talking about is the fact that you're seeing, oh, they're trying, but they don't actually have the self-esteem. And it got to a point of too uncomfortable. Maybe they wanted to share, to try and build that self-esteem, and then ultimately just couldn't receive it in the same sentence.
They shit the bed.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm trying to use a little bit of humor there,
Okay.
but in just saying that they shit the bed. But deeply, what we're trying to say with empathy, if Karen had a moment of empathy here, we're trying to say that these are good tools so that you can actually assess somebody with compassion instead of going into your own response to their lack of self-esteem.
Yeah.
Now you can understand it and not make it about you. You can actually just go, okay, I understand where they're at and I can accept where they're at. I can't fix it for them. You can't. But then it allows you just to be in your own healthier space.
And detach at that point.
You got it. That's healthy detachment.
Okay, next.
So our level of self-esteem will also affect our ability to receive gifts.
And affection.
And affect. Oh God, yes.
And as we've been talking about compliments. So I think we actually really
Yeah.
touched on this and did a good job of it. If people can just extrapolate and say, when you are on the receiving end of something, how you doing?
Yeah, because if you're in a relationship and you're not doing well, then that's going to affect whether the person continues to choose to give to you.
Yeah, because of the discomfort that is consistently created because of the low self-esteem.
And so when they cease to give to you because of your response, as you were saying, because of lack of self-esteem, you might wonder where the love went and where the connection went and not understand your contribution in that relationship to creating the problem. And the last one is when you have high self-esteem, you are more open to criticism. You are more open to being able to actually listen to feedback from other people. You're not going to start in defense mode, and you don't need to go to a defensive mode. You're willing to sit there and listen to it and decide, is this appropriate? Does this make sense? Could I use this information?
Yeah, and part of that is also having that discernment tool with self-esteem to be able to say, is this actually feedback or is this just criticism?
Right.
Right? Because there's healthy critique, there's
Yeah.
healthy feedback, and there's also just non-productive feedback, right? And so with high self-esteem, you can sort of, discern which ones are which and be able to go, okay, helpful, good, I can work with that. Okay, that was not helpful in the least. Not because it's not true necessarily, but because it might just be mean-spirited, right? And so you're not taking those things personally. You're not digesting or internalizing those things. You're sifting through, taking the healthy feedback and doing what you can with it.
So you're talking about your people's reactions to the criticism, and someone with high self-esteem doesn't have a big reaction to that. They're able to sit there and go, that's not about me, that's about them.
Yeah, and I think similar to the self-esteem itself, when we receive feedback, we already have a foundation of what we are proud of, what we've done. And the feedback is just, it's not going to change that we are proud of what we've done. It's just going to allow us to move to the next level to do more, right? To achieve or accomplish more. And so even if the feedback comes with, hey, I'd like some changes to be made, cool, I can work with that. I'm proud of what I've currently done. And now I'm on to the next task, basically, right? So it builds the same way self-esteem builds.
Exactly. So that's it for today's show. Thank you for wrapping that up beautifully. And we have 2 more shows.